Hello everybody, this is my second Horror Mayhem video for 2025, and I don't know if you can see there's little bits of dust that the light is catching, and I don't know, for this video we will call that ectoplasm. Ectoplasm, everybody. So this is me honing in on the Decades of Dread concept for this year. And what I've done, and I've done this on my iPad, and I took a photo of what I'd done on my iPad with my phone, and I'm going to try and use my phone as a conduit to highlight specific stories that I'm going to look at. And I'd love it if you guys could comment on whether you know the story, or whether you are inspired to read it yourself, or just go, don't read that, read this. It's the heavy, heavy monster sound. One step. So I'm going to go through these stories. I'm going and they cover quite a lot of decades. As a little brief overview. Pause the video, quick have a look, and then keep it running, but go and do something else. 1836 is where we start. So I'll be using this book, this beautiful book, Penny Dreadfuls. This was given to me by Michael K. Vaughan, and I'm very grateful. And my phone has just switched off again. 1836. And the reason why I want to read this is called Sony Bean by Charles Whitehead. And it's about a cannibal. And there's a little bit of a myth to it as well. This is the list again. There's a bit of a myth to it. But one of the first folk bands I ever saw when I started going to folk clubs when I was a teenager was this Scottish band. And it was really, really traditional. They were these really old blokes with massive beards. I forgot what they're called. And they did a song that really, stayed with me for ages, called Sony Bean. And it was a traditional song. And it was about this legend of this cannibal, Sony Bean. And every verse ended with Sony Bean. And it was a very deep song, and Sony Bean. And anyway, I want to read the story, and I'll have that song in my head as I read it, I expect. So yeah, Sony Bean, I might need that in a minute. That's the first, or the oldest one. I don't know if I'll be reading them in this order. That's the oldest one out of this lot. And then right next to that, 1839, I'm going to be reading The Fall of the House of Usher. So I've read some Poe, but I haven't actually read The Fall of the House of Usher. And that is in this book. That's there, look. And that's this gorgeous book, American Supernatural Tales. Really, really awesome book this is. I mean, look at that. So lovely. Got these charcoal edges. It's a well good book. Nice. 1839, that is. And I'll read a few of those, actually. So 1839 is The Fall of the House of Usher. 1933 is Old Garfields Heart from Robert E. Howard. And I'm pretty sure that's in here as well. Yeah, Old Garfield's Heart is there. There, Robert E. Howard. So that's another one I'll be taking from this book. And this also has a story that Randy Ray raved about on our Voxer chat. He said he was going to talk about it on his video that he was doing that night, but which is a really good video. But he raved about this particular story, The Lonesome Place by August Derleth. And as you see, that's from 1948. 1948, that is. Right? God, look at that. Sunny day. How about you can't see me anymore? Mate, can you not be so... that was a dramatic entrance from the sun. That's The Lonesome Place, August Derleth. And then we zip to... Well, that was a big gap. And anyway, we go up to 1949 next with Fritz Lieber, Night Monsters, and the girl with the kaleidoscope eyes, the girl with the hungry eyes, I'm going to be reading that from Night Monsters. What a great cover this is. Can you see that? That's a better angle. Fritz Lieber's Night Monsters. And then, whoa, oh, sure, what have I done? There we are. And then we're going with Shirley Jackson, 1952, The Visit. Yeah, The Visit, 1952. Shirley Jackson, The Visit. I mean, The Visit in here as well. All these different props I'm using in this one. This is why I don't like using my phone very often in general. And then 1954, Wolves Don't Cry, Bruce Elliott. And 1954, Bruce Elliott, Wolves Don't Cry. I think we have a... Yeah, this is an appearance from Rod Serling. Rod Serling edited this collection, Triple W, Witches, Warlocks and Werewolves. And this Bruce Elliott story called Wolves Don't Cry is a werewolf story. So yeah, a little bit of Rod Serling there. So I'll be reading that as well. I will then be reading from, well, not then, I said before it's not going to be in this order, but the next one in the chronological order of the books, of the stories, is 1958, The Man Who Believed in Werewolves by Robert Silverberg. 1958, and that is from this awesome book, Monsters and Things. Can you see that? The sun is definitely becoming a character in this video. Monsters and Things, The Man Who Believed in Werewolves, 1958. Okay. And then I'll be reading from 1960, Charles Bowmont's The Magic Man. Now, I cannot say the phrase The Magic Man without hearing Ann Wilson singing, "He's a magic man." But try to understand, try to understand, try to understand, I'm a magic man. But there we are. It's a fantastic song. If you want to check out Heart's song, The Magic Man, such a brilliant song. But, and a song that is quite a big feature of my playing, actually. I play it a lot, that song. But anyway, Perchance to Dream is a great collection of Charles Bowmont stories. Charles Bowmont is a huge part of the history of the Twilight Zone. He's a great writer. And The Magic Man is another one I'll be reading from 1960. 1962, Test by Theodore L Thomas. I think that's from this one. Yeah, Test from Theodore L Thomas. I don't know Theodore L Thomas from 1962. This is the best of modern horror. I think this was given to me by Dave Brzezinski, but I apologise if I got that wrong. The best of modern horror. Fantastic book, and I don't know Theodore L Thomas at all, so that'll be interesting. That's from 1962. 1970. Okay, so now we're going to delve back into Daphne du Maurier, and I'm going to read Don't Look Now. Last year, I read The Birds from this book, and it was fantastic. Don't Look Now is obviously famously turned into the film with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. And I have seen that film, Nicholas Roeg film. Nicholas Roeg's a very interesting director. But I'm going to read the story that's based on now. So that's the next thing I'll be reading, or certainly chronologically the next thing. Daphne du Maurier's Don't Look Now. Then, in 1980, there's Bug House by Lisa Tuttle, 1980. And Lisa Tuttle's Bug House is in this one, Best of Modern Horror. So... yeah, that's the next one chronologically order, in chronological order. That's from 1980. From 1988, we have Oozy by Brian Lumley. So it's 1988, that one, and that's from the Glance Book of Horror Dark Terrors. Brian Lumley, one of the big celebrated modern authors. And from 1990, The Dead Love You by Jonathan Carroll. 1990, The Dead Love You by Jonathan Carroll. Got a feeling that's in this one. Yeah, The Dead Love You by Jonathan Carroll. There's so much sun. There he is, just above Harlan Ellison there. Yeah, The Dead Love You, Jonathan Carroll. I have read something by Jonathan Carroll before, but I can't remember what it's like. I really love this cover. Can you see that? Brilliant. So yeah, that's the next one in chronological order. You can see that I'm going to try and read quite a few stories, but they're quite short, so I'm hoping to read a couple. If I'm in a reading position, I can read for a while. Hopefully get more than one read. We'll see how it goes. And then in 1993, because that goes to 1990, 1993, still the same decade, is The Legacy from Robert Bloch. Now, The Legacy from Robert Bloch I'm taking from the Armchair Horror Collection, which is a really cool collection based around stories that have been adapted into TV anthology shows. So that's the general theme of this book. I think there's a few exceptions, but in general, that's the idea. And this Robert Bloch story, The Legacy, is right at the back of this one. Yeah. So it's a fantastic collection. You can have a look at those names that are there. Really cool. But yeah, Robert Bloch's there, the great Robert Bloch. So The Legacy is the next one in the 90s. Okay, I had to look at these books again. I got a bit confused. So Dennis Etchison and Ramsey Campbell both feature in these in this collection from 2011. And those stories, if you've read them, are Tell Me I'll See You Again by Dennis Etchison and Getting It Wrong by Ramsey Campbell. Those are the two I'm aiming for from this book this year round, from 2011. So we're getting up to present day now. I've looked through this. I can't decide on what specific story, but I'm going to read something from this story, The Beast You Are, by Paul Tremblay, and it'll be the first Paul Tremblay I've read, and this comes from 2019. So, you know, right up to date there with Paul Tremblay. And then that will be a really nice scattering of the decades. And I want to just mention before I go away that obviously the focus is on short stories and shorter pieces of work. And I have mentioned in my first Horror Mayhem video that I will possibly read a novel if I get to that point where I feel like I've really explored short stories in a big way, which worked really well for me when I did the February Fantasy Stories one. But I am going to be doing this as well, which is going to be reading The Walking Dead, the first 8 issues. So I am a huge fan of the series. I love the series so much. And I could wax lyrical about the Walking Dead series forever. I did do, when it first finished, I did do a video about the series as a whole, but I wanted to do one about the spin-off series I'd just created, which I might do for Horror Mayhem. But in the meantime, I read the first 2 of these, and I stopped reading them because there was too many differences with the show and it was getting in the way of my enjoyment of the show, and I thought I'll just read them later. And now obviously it is later and I've got 8 now, so I'm going to read those 8 issues and we'll see where that takes us. I don't know who that is. Is that Negan? I don't know who that is, but it'll take me to there. So anyway, I'm going to read those 8 issues of The Walking Dead as well. So there we are. I am putting this out just before Horror Mayhem, so I hope you're all ready to go. Let me know below if you've made any changes to your reading. A lot of those anthologies I did mention in that first video, but I wanted to be specific about the stories in case anyone's read any of those stories. And thank you for watching. Stay curious, everybody.